when Labyrinth of the Demon King came out, I immediately purchased because I was really interested in this game. This was one of the horror games I was interested in, and it did not disappoint. So let's just get right in. Labyrinth of the Demon King is a slow-paced horror game that plays closer to a dungeon crawler. It is an incredible experience that completely captured my mind while I was playing it. It is genuinely terrifying at times, something that has made me sit and be fairly tense while playing it, which is more than most horror games do. I genuinely think Labyrinth of the Demon King is pretty scary. It's also a game that has a lot of puzzle solving, it has a few boss fights, and on top of that it has a great all-around atmosphere. So why don't we get into it? In Labyrinth of the Demon King, you explore a feudal Japanese castle. The castle is currently being besieged by demons, including the Demon King himself, and you have tracked him down. You see, the Demon King tricked your lord into a trap where he died along with everybody else that you sort of worked with and for. And you have decided to get revenge for your lord, as he sacrificed his life to save yours. So, you track down the Demon King, and that is about all there really is to know about the plot. There's a lot more, as the game does take heavy inspiration from Hindu mythology, including the layers of hell that will be described as you go throughout the game. The game itself consists of you exploring different towers that is currently being besieged by the Demon King, getting rid of demons, skeletons, and so on. It is a really fun experience, and here is where we need to divert a little bit. You see, I have seen a few people mention that the combat can feel a bit clunky, and they are right. The combat in this game can feel a little bit clunky, and that is because it's a horror game. I think Labyrinth of the Demon King's combat fits perfectly for the game that it is. You see, in Labyrinth of the Demon King, it is all about building tension. From the music in the background to the environment that you walk through to the little grainy filter that makes it all look like a PSX style game, it is all about building tension. And it is why the combat will feel slow, it will feel heavy, it will feel kinda bad. It is because you are meant to feel powerful at any given point in this game. Unfortunately, the combat in Labyrinth of the Demon King is very much an old school dungeon crawler style combat, meaning you can kill most enemies via hitting them once, running away from them, or circle strafing, and you just hit them once and run away. Now, that is not all there is to it, but that is definitely a lot of the game is building up tension, trying to get you to always sit there and be a little bit on your nerve, looking over your shoulder. Is that footsteps that you hear? And you see the game has a lot of small clever tricks to do that. One of them outside of the combat is when you walk, your footsteps are slightly delayed from when the camera moves. That means that it will constantly sound like somebody is just a smidge behind you. And you will have to look, because you'll be like, wait, is there an enemy there? And there isn't. It is just you walking. It is one of the things that throughout the game's 7-hour runtime I never got used to. I really like this game. I think it's a really good horror game. And that is also proven through the enemy designs. They are disgusting. Taking inspiration through Hinduism's demons and all of that sort of thing. It is very interesting actually to just explore and see. I really like the visual and enemy design here. I think it is masterfully used. And I think the way you can see the different demons' sort of faces is also really cool. One example I will give of this is the very first real boss fight you fight is with this demon holding a baby. It's an ubume, and in case you don't know what an ubume is, the very essentials as far as I know is that it's a woman that died during childbirth that then turned into a yokai to care for said child. Now in the game, as you progress through the first tower and you get to the top of the castle and you have to fight this ubume, essentially as you progress the fight she will eventually start using her child as a weapon. She'll slap you with the kid. And as fucked up as it is, I couldn't help but laugh a little bit the first time I saw it, because it was just unexpected. I think it's one of those things that really prove the game knows what it's doing. Essentially, I really like the boss fights, because not only are they really slow paced and they are a little bit clunky, they are definitely disempowering. I love the idea of using real-life folklore within horror. I think this adds an entire new element to it that I kinda enjoy a lot. And the Ubume, I think, is the penultimate of that. It is a perfectly easy showcase of it. Because when you progress the fight, like I said, it starts using the child. It gets desperate. Because while, yes, it's a demon, the demon still has a will to exist, right? So it gets desperate as you wither it down. Now, outside of that, Labyrinth of the Demon King has a heavy emphasis on exploration. It is one of the points of the game that I really like. You'll be going through quite a few different areas. It will be visually different towers, even a bathhouse at one point. I really enjoy that sort of element to it. However, whereas in traditional horror survival or survival horror games, you will tend to be resource starved. I never once felt that here. Labyrinth of the Demon King is the most generous survival horror game I have played. You get so many resources almost all of the time that I was for the entire playthrough topped up on health, on stamina potions, on all of the equivalents, right? Like I had my sake and my ginseng tea, I have all of them all of the time. And that is a little bit of an issue because in general, when you're talking about a horror game, there are disempowering mechanics, things like the slow combat, and then there are things like the empowering side of things that makes the game feel more empowering to the player. And having an abundance of resources kind of tips the scale a lot, because it means whenever you get into a boss fight or any encounter, you can reliably potion spam until you get out of it. Now, the game tries to get around this by simply limiting the amount of potions you can have. Now, it doesn't always work as often. I find that the enemies die fairly quickly, especially with the strategy that I use, which is, again, hit it once, run the fuck away, come back when you have a little bit of stamina, heavy charge it once, and then run away again. This is something that you will be repeating over and over and over and over. And a lot of the enemies drop items. Said items can be used to get even more health items, or just general character upgrades. When I'm saying character upgrades, I don't just mean the usual equipment. Of course, you can get that, but you can also directly upgrade your character's stamina or health through incense, which are one-use items that you go to a save point. In this game, it's shrines. You use them. You then get either stamina or health, depending on what you choose. And I like the system quite a lot. Unfortunately, you get quite a bit of health or quite a bit of stamina. And what it means is that fairly fast, the game can end up feeling a little bit easy. And what that in essence does is that it makes the game feel less tense, less scary, because all of a sudden you aren't worried about what is around the next corner, because now you can just run through it. It doesn't matter. Breeze it. It's easy. And I think that is one of the slightly bigger issues that I have, because it combines into a bigger issue when you also have the abundance of materials. You get so much stuff and consumables and all of that, right? So it combines together to just make the game slightly less tense than its latter half. And I think that's a bit of a shame. It isn't helped by the fact that the big guy that is following you, your unkillable monster, you can get rid of him within 2 dungeons. And I think that isn't a bad thing necessarily. I don't like having the unkillable monster, but it does add a good bit of tension to the game that was noticeably missing after he was gone. Because while yes, he has a sound cue when he spawns in, maybe it's me, maybe it isn't, but I very rarely noticed him. And he has a debuff that would stack up, and if it reaches 100, it is an instant death. That is it. And what it would result in is sometimes he would spawn in. I called him Larry. So Larry would spawn in. He would sneak up on me, and I just started to notice my little debuff screen that was like going up. And I could see it was like the death buff, and if I didn't get out of there fairly fast, I would perish. Now, it is in essence a little bit of a tricky thing to balance, because of course you don't want the unkillable demon to become really annoying. But in my opinion, the sort of lessening of him was also a bit of a shame. That being said, it doesn't mean it lessens the latter half of the game. The latter half of the game manages to still be tense through its use of effective visuals. Essentially, it's just the visual designs. It is always very tense to walk around the Labyrinth, the Demon King. Why? Because it is designed to be very tense. It's tight corridors, grainy filters, all of this sort of dark and grainy feeling. I love it. It is really good. It makes me feel incredibly tense to play. It's something where I'm sitting on the edge of my chair, even when I know I could get through every encounter in the game. I would still sit there and listen, and I'd hear the footstep be slightly behind what I moved at, and I would never get used to it, and I would still sometimes look behind me just to see, was there something there? Was there really something there? And then there wasn't, and I'll continue. It is one of those games where that is definitely prevalent, and I think that is one of the game's biggest features. It is just the pure genius design, and both in the visuals and also just the general gameplay feel to still be tense even when you are strong. Because a lot of games, in my opinion, including Sorry We're Closed, stop really being scary to me or in any way feeling tense when I realized I could kill most monsters fairly reliably. And that is not necessarily a bad thing with the game, that is just how the game is. And it is one of those progression things that is super hard to balance in any game, let alone for an indie. That being said, I really love this game. Genuinely one of the best horror games out there. I love its inspiration from feudal Japan. I love its take on a Hinduist hell. I love all of these sort of themes that are going through the game and things that it's trying to show. More than anything, I absolutely adore the sound design, because I have never heard a game that could visibly make me squirm like some of the cutscene can in Labyrinth of the Demon King. You see, it has a very effective view, and I don't want to explain it to you, so I'll just show you a very early example of said sound design. Now, this is like exactly what I mean. This cutscene shows it really well. It is the grimy, filthy, almost sound design. It hits in just the right way for this game. It feels intentionally designed for the game, just like everything else. It felt like every decision was handpicked to fit perfectly within this game. And I think Labyrinth of the Demon King really is that good of a game. It is well worth picking up if you like horror. And in my opinion, the entire package, the tense atmosphere, the gross sound effects, and everything else is just a really good package. That being said, that is also what I have for today. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, you can do the YouTube stuff. If you like, comment, and subscribe, you know how it goes. And other than that, I hope you have a wonderful day. And thank you for watching this far, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.